So this video is going to be looking at the play by Euripides called Hippolytus, which is a tragedy play. So like any good tragedy play, it always tells you the plot essentially at the beginning of the play, and then the play runs through the rest of what happens and gives you a bit more detail. Also keep in mind, when we're looking at these kind of these plays, we're looking for the kind of lessons it's teaching us about the gods, about humanity, about how we sort of react in different situations. And that's when we go through this in lesson, that's what we're going to be having a look at, is these kind of different morals and different judgments it's making us reach. So we start with Aphrodite. I said I would explain the plot, but the plot is going to be explained through the actual play in this first section. So we have lots of evidence in this section about the importance of the gods. So, you know, I'm the goddess Aphrodite, blah, 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 blah. I honour those who reverence my power, but I lay low all those who think proud thoughts against me. For in the gods, as one as finds this trait, they enjoy receiving honour from mortals. So it tells you sort of the importance of the gods, that they expect to be honoured, expect to be revered, expect to be worshipped, and they enjoy doing this. Okay, that's fine. So the truth of these words I shortly demonstrate. Hippolytus, so Theseus is son by the Amazon woman. So this is based around obviously Greek mythology. If you want to know a bit more about Theseus's background, and obviously Theseus's background, please look him up. Anyway, so Hippolytus says I am the basest of divinities, so he doesn't like Aphrodite. He shuns the bed of love and have nothing to do with marriage. So he is chaste. He does sort of believes in chastity, all the rest of it. So instead, he honours Apollo's sister Artemis, who was a virginal goddess and was the goddess of the hunt, etc. So thinking her the greatest divinities, and he goes hunting, so he clears the land of wild beasts, the swift dogs, fine. So he worships her, goes hunting, ignores Aphrodite. And because of this, for his sins against me, I shall punish Hippolytus this day. Because you're Aphrodite is being kind of ignored or spurned by Hippolytus, she's going to punish Hippolytus, and she's going to explain basically how she's going to do it. So she's come along with a plan, and that's what she's going to do. So his father's high-born wife Phaedra saw him. Her heart was seized with a dreadful longing by my design. So Phaedra is Hippolytus' stepmother. I can't remember what happened to Hippolytus' mother in mythology. So basically his father is remarried, and she sort of curses, puts a spell on, whatever, Hippolytus' stepmother, Phaedra, and she has fallen in love with him. And she has no idea why. She is just racked with this love that she obviously sees as being really dishonourable to her husband, but also to her stepson. And tells her that she's sort of come back from this place called Trozen. Fine. So, as a result of this, from this point on, the poor woman, groaning and stuck senseless by the goad of love, means to die in silence. None of the household knows of her malady, so she's kept it to herself. She's not told anybody what's wrong with her, but she's basically kind of cut herself off. She's basically not eating, she's not going out, she's not doing anything, she just wants to die because she's been struck by this love curse. I shall reveal the matter to Theseus, and it will come to light, and the young man who wars against me shall be killed by his father with the curses the sea lord Poseidon. And that is basically going to be the plot. That's kind of it, really. So Hippolytus doesn't know what's going on. Phaedra has been stuck by a love curse. She is eventually going to die, and so is Hippolytus. As a typical tragedy, everybody dies. And at the end of the at the end of the play, lessons will be learned through this kind of really horrible situation that they find themselves in. Okie dokies, so that's the basic plot. Fine. Another evidence for the importance of the gods, that he's hymning the praises of the goddess Artemis. Okay. So she's kind of explaining the plot, and Hippolytus appears. So he's kind of wandering through the woods going on his hunt, and that's when Aphrodite leaves the scene, and there's Hippolytus there with some of his servants. Fine. So again, you've got him kind of praising Artemis in that first section. Lady first revered, daughter of Zeus, my greeting, first of all those who dwell in Olympus. So again, just evidence of the importance of the gods, and the fact that he likes her. Great, wonderful, not a problem. I don't really want to go through it bit by bit, but I think I'll probably have to, otherwise the plot's not going to make a lot of sense. So for you, this lady, I plaited garland I have made, gathered from an inviolate meadow, a place where the shepherd does not dare to pasture his flock. So he's going out and beyond in order to get her the best flowers, to make this garland, in order to praise her properly. Great, wonderful, good for him. What else is there? So fine. Basically, just sort of explains that he's just really worshipping her properly. Okay, not particularly exciting, this bit. I'm afraid it's kind of the setup of the situation. And then there's one of his servants is there, kind of questioning him, sort of saying, you know, is it sensible just to kind of just really worship Artemis? Are you not neglecting some of the other gods as a result? So he's giving a bit of a warning, which is obviously quite typical of in his tragedy play, where somebody's doing one thing and someone else is like, you sure you should be doing that? Should be doing something else. So, you know, how then no word for a high and mighty goddess? So she's referring to Aphrodite. He literally, Hippolytus is like, who? Don't know who you're talking about. Servant points to Aphrodite, her. No, be careful, because if you don't worship her, you know, she's revered and famous amongst mortals. My son, to honour the gods is only just. So he's kind of saying, you know, if you're not careful, you're going to bring about the wrath of the gods. So you need to watch your step here. You need to worship Aphrodite as well as Artemis and all the others. And Hippolytus just dismisses this. He's like, yeah, fine, whatever. I'm not interested. Go prepare a meal, go lay out the feast, and then he basically leaves. Sort of acknowledges Aphrodite's statue, little like, hi, yeah, anyway, I'm not going to worship you, off you go. So he disappears, fine. So you kind of get an idea of what Hippolytus is kind of like. He's quite dismissive. He worships Artemis and ignores Aphrodite. Big mistake. So then we cut scene to inside the palace. And this servant is sort of talking to, essentially to himself, but to the audience, and is praying to Aphrodite, sort of saying, you know, you should be forgiving. He's just a young man. He utters folly. Pretend that, please don't react to what Hippolytus has said. He's just a boy. He's basically an idiot. I know you're really important, for gods should be wiser than mortals. So often when we're looking at these tragedy plays, there is a lot of similarities between the gods' behaviour and human behaviour, and that's kind of the whole point. Remember we did religion, we talked about how the gods are supposed to reflect human behaviour and human sort of thought process. So this is the idea that, you know, the gods should be wiser than us. Don't react in the same way that a human would do. You know, if Aphrodite don't overreact. Obviously, we know, because Aphrodite started the play, so has already got this plan in place and has already overreacted. So what the servant is saying is not particularly helpful. But it's this idea that the gods have wrath, the gods are angry, and that's what's going to cause all these particular problems, because anger is obviously can be a bad thing. So then we have our chorus. Remember, they reflect basically what the audience is supposed to be thinking and feeling at the time. And they basically set in the scene about Phaedra and the problem that she's going. So she lies afflicted, they say, in a bed of sickness and keeps indoors, so she's literally just locking herself away. So for 3 days, her mouth taking no food. She's kept her body pure of Demeter's grain, so she's starving herself as well. And nobody knows why. So has some god possessed you? Yes, dear girl. Obviously, the audience, the chorus, being the thought to us, doesn't necessarily know this. And he's saying, you know, what is going on? Is it because of your husband? Is it the gods? What is going on? Is it just because you're a woman? Just a bit harsh. So woman's nature is an uneasy harmony, and is wont to dwell the slack unhappy helplessness of birth pangs and their folly. I think there's an element of here of like, is it just because you're a woman and you may be in a period or something going on? Yeah, is it something we don't understand? Is it nothing to do with anybody? It's just you're being a bit sort of melodramatic. Gives you an idea of kind of the Athenian view of women a little bit here, how they saw their place in the world. So then we have the chorus leader, and he's sort of narrating what's going on. So the cloud of unhappiness on brow is growing. So he's talking about the nurse. So there is a nurse looking after the queen, and the nurse comes out and is looking really worried because the queen hasn't been eating anything and has locked herself away, and nobody knows why. She's just seen to be incredibly depressed. So then the nurse kind of, again, sort of talking to herself, but also to the queen, who she's bringing outside to get a bit of fresh air. So, you know, what the troubles mortals have, the wretched diseases, what shall I do to you? What shall I not do? She doesn't know what to do because she doesn't know what the problem is. Here is daylight here, bright sky. Your sickbed stands now outside the house. So basically, come out and get some fresh air. But soon you will hurry back into your chamber, for you slip all too soon from contentment, and you find joy in nothing, taking no pleasure in what is at hand, but loving rather what is far off. So she's acknowledging there's obviously something wrong, and the queen is deeply unhappy and depressed, and it doesn't matter, she might be happy for a little bit, but then she kind of falls back into this pattern of really sad behaviour, and she's sort of a bit at a loss, doesn't really know what the problem is. So then they have this basically discussion where Phaedra is being a little bit overdramatic, but she's another stepson, so I think we'll allow that one under a curse. And she's sort of saying, I feel really raising my body, I've got no energy, I don't know what to do. The nurse is like, be kind to yourself, whatever your ailment is, if you sort of act really calmly, then you'll be absolutely fine. In fact, we'll highlight that. I appreciate I can't do it in the same colour, but it doesn't matter. So if you treat yourself with calmness, then you will be okay. Phaedra then sings, which is, I'm sure, was lovely in Greek times. Sort of, how I want to drink and be restful and be happy, but I can't be. The nurse is like, why? What's wrong? And it's basically what this discussion is kind of going, is, why? What is the problem? Why do you want to drink but not drinking? Why do you want to eat but not eating? What is the issue? And Phaedra is basically just dancing around the issue. It's not really telling him what the problem is. It's just like, but I want to go out and I want to scream and I want to shout and want to do all the rest of it, but I can't. So the nurse is just like, for goodness sake, what's wrong with you? In the end, all this calls for a skillful diviner to say which of the gods is wrenching your head aside, my child, striking your wits awry. So the nurses begin to pick up that it's something kind of beyond just Phaedra being ill, that there's some kind of maybe the gods are involved in some form or another, and maybe they need to get like a priest to try and help her. And then Phaedra sort of starts to kind of admit that, yes, something has happened from the gods, and I can't explain what it is, and I'm really unhappy, and I'm ashamed of my words. So she's beginning to sort of say what the problem is, but is very reluctant to say so, for reasons that will come clear later. So she starts to cry, and feels like she's going mad, and really doesn't know what to do. So the nurse is trying to look after her, and is like, just cover up your head again, and gives us our first kind of real key story. So mortals should not mix the cup of their affection to one another too strong. So we shouldn't feel our emotions too powerfully, because it basically causes problems. So whatever is obviously afflicting her, she needs to kind of keep a calm head about it in order to figure a way out, to figure out what the problem is. And again, the Queen is not explaining what the problem is. And that's when the chorus leader steps forward to have this conversation with the nurse. So remember, the chorus represented the people. So it's coming forward to just debate what is going on. So you have this conversation between the two. So, old woman, faithful nurse to the Queen, see Phaedra's unhappy plight, it's unclear what is wrong with her. We want to ask you and hear your answer. So, we've heard, the people have heard that she's unhappy. Nurse, I've given up questioning her, she won't say. So Phaedra's keeping it to herself. Did you say how it started? No, she won't talk about it. She's wrecked her body. Yeah, she hasn't eaten for 3 days. Is she deranged? Does she want to sort of take her own life, to die? Yeah, she does seem to be, and it's going to end that way. And it's sort of saying it's very strange that her husband hasn't noticed. And she said, well, he's not actually in. He's abroad at the moment, so that's why she's been to hide it. And I don't know what to do either. So the nurse says, I've tried everything, I've made no progress. I'm not going to relax from my efforts. She's going to keep trying. So she turns back to the Queen. So she's been talking to the chorus, she turns back to the Queen and is like, right, let us forget the words of the past. You be more gracious, loosing your morose brow on the path your thoughts take. I were in the past, I was not into follow sympathetically. Shall let that be, and another take better tact. So she's going to try a different method and talk to you slightly differently and see if she will tell her what the earth is the problem. If your malady is one of those unmentionable, here are women to help set it to rights. If your misfortune may be spoken to of to men, speaks of the thing may be revealed to the doctors. So either they'll tell you your friends, your sisters, sisterhood, blah, 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 or talk to the doctors, because something's going to happen. So the Queen says nothing. The nurse continues. Why always silent? You ought not to be mute, child, but should neither refute me if I said something amiss or comply with the good advice given. So either tell me I'm wrong, or tell me what the problem is. I'm telling you I'm taking good advice. Queen's silent. Say something, look at me. She's getting quite frustrated, I think, with the Queen here. I'm trying really hard to help, and you're not doing anything to help me either. So in the face of this, be more stubborn than the sea for light. So this is kind of this stubbornness, which is being kind of exposed, which is not a good trait to have. Know that if you die, you will betray your sons, a bit harsh, who shall have no share in their father's house. None. I tell you in the name of that horse-riding Queen of the Amazons who bore a master all over your sons, and illegitimate with thoughts of legitimacy, you know him well, Hippolytus. Now, as she says Hippolytus, the Queen cries out, "Oh, goodness." And then the nurse is like, "What? Hang on a second. Why does this kind of cause a reaction?" Phaedra, "You've killed me, nurse. I beg you by the gods, say nothing of this man again." So obviously the nurse is like, right, you're not insane, but clearly something's going on, and it's something to do with Hippolytus. And I can tell it is, but you're not going to tell me. So have you done something to Hippolytus, or done something to the sons? And Phaedra's like, no, my hands are clean, so I've not murdered anybody, but it's my heart that's been stained. So something's going on with my heart. Nurse, not spells by some enemy. Phaedra, no, not an enemy. Nothing's done this to me. As the king, Theseus, your husband, done something wrong. Phaedra, no, never may be found wronging him. So whatever it is, no, he's not something, and I won't do anything because I don't want to hurt his feelings. Nurse says, what is it? What is it that makes you want to die? Phaedra, just let me out. It's not you I wrong, so it's nothing to do with you. I just want to be left alone. Nurse, if I must fail, the fault is yours, not mine. A bit harsh. So then she sort of goes down onto her knees, grasps her hand. She's getting really desperate at this point. So almost like a bit of a guilt trip being kind of laid on here. So Phaedra seized my hand by force, the subsequent grasp. What are you doing? Oh, please, for goodness sake, let go of my hand. And it's pleading with her here. Please tell me, please tell me, please tell me, please tell me. Out of great shame, I schemed to make great good. So she's shamed of what's going on, and that's why she wants to die. To the nurses, why speak it then, and you will be honoured. If you say it, we can fix it. We can solve the problem. You would not be dishonoured by saying it out loud. I ask you by the gods, be gone, let go. So just, nurse, go away. I don't want to tell you. And basically this description just goes on for quite a long time about this discussion about, please tell me, I don't want to tell you, please tell me, I don't want to tell you, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to skip through the end. And eventually Phaedra's like, oh, what is it like to be, is it this thing about being in love? Come out of the blue a little bit. She's been kind of worn down by this kind of water torture from the nurse. So the nurse is like, what, are you in love, my child? Who's the man? It's clearly not your husband, otherwise you wouldn't be upset. Phaedra, whatever his name is, son of the Amazon, Hippolytus. Phaedra, you said it, not me. So now that the secret is now open. So the nurse is like, oh my God, what do you mean? This is awful. You can't be in love with your stepson. That's one, it's a bit gross. And two, your husband. Woman, this is undurable. I cannot endure to live. So she starts to overreact of like, oh my God, what are you going to do? I shall throw myself down, die, quit of life. I'm so kind of overtaken by this particular turn of events. Aphrodite is not after all a goddess, but something even more mighty. She has destroyed her, me, and the house. So she's like, Aphrodite's made this happen. Oh, this is awful. The whole family, the whole house is going to crash down as a result of it. So the chorus is just like, oh my God, the Queen, you're undone. You've revealed your miseries, the light of day. So is it better to have kept it to yourself than to tell people what really is the problem? So Phaedra then kind of steps forwards and is just like, look, I didn't really know what to do. I'm really kind of stuck. I'm going to read through this whole bit to you, actually, because it's quite interesting. So women of Trozen is where the play's set. Trozen, sorry. Dwellers in the extreme forecourt of the lands of Pelops, I have pondered before now in other circumstances, the long night's watchers, how it is the lives of mortals are in ruins. I think it is not owing to the nature of their wits that they fare worse than they might, since many people possess good sense. Rather, one must look at it this way. We know and understand what is noble, but do not bring it to completion. So we know what we should be doing, but we don't do it. Some fail from laziness, others because they give precedence to some other pleasure than being honourable. Life's pleasures are many. Long, leisurely talks, a pleasant evil, and the sense of awe. Yet they are of two sorts. One pleasure being no bad thing, yet another a burden upon houses. So one thing being nice to one family is like a burden to another. If propriety, were always clear, there would not be two things designated by the same letters. Since in the views I happen to have arrived at beforehand, there is no drug which can make pervert them and reverse my opinion. I shall tell you also the road my thoughts took when love wounded me. I considered how I might bear it most creditably. My starting point was this: to conceal my malady with silence. So I wasn't going to tell anybody, I was just going to put up with it, because I knew if I said something it would be obviously dishonourable. For the tongue is not to be trusted. It knows well how to admonish the thoughts of others, but it gets itself into a great deal of trouble. So you can't trust your own tongue because you say stuff that hurts people. My second intention was to bear this madness nobly, overcoming it by means of self-control. So this is kind of her acting honourably by keeping it to herself and just trying to kind of ignore it and carry on as life as normal. But third, when these means I was unable to master Aphrodite, so these two methods weren't working, I resolved on death, the best of plans, as no one shall deny. So in other words, she's also saying it's more honourable for me to take my own life than it is, one, to act on how I'm feeling, and two, to kind of tell anybody, because I'll bring dishonour to the family, to the household, etc. We also have a bit of an idea of how women are seen. So I was a woman, a thing all men hate. Okay, it's interesting viewpoint there. And basically saying, I need to basically kill myself. I need to take my own life. This is the right thing to do. My friends, it is this very purpose that bringing about my death, I may not be detected bringing shame to my husband or to the children I gave birth to, but rather that they may live in glorious Athens as free men. So that is the key. That is why she's not wanting to tell anybody at all. So fine. So chorus leader sort of jumps in. Oh, fine thing of chastity everywhere. How splendid is the repute it gains amongst men. So I don't think it particularly needs explanation. So the nurse sort of steps in and is kind of going, look, I get it, but it's the wrath of the goddess that descended on you. You know, you're in love. Why is that? It's not that weird. It happens. Sorry, I'm rereading the sentence. Because of this love, you end your own life. That's, don't do it. There are ways around this. We can deal with this. Again, so to yield to her demand, she comes in mildness, but the one she seems high and proud, such as the one she takes and mistreats ever so badly. So you kind of maybe brought this on yourself, but we can get around this particular problem. Dishonourable deeds should be kept to the dark. Okay, mortals should not, try to bring to their lives too high of perfection. So this sort of possibly the reasons why Phaedra has been targeted. Not understanding it's about Hippolytus particularly, but maybe Phaedra herself was trying to be too perfect by trying to be the perfect wife, the perfect queen, and that's brought it on. So my daughter, leave off these wicked thoughts, leave off this pride. So pride is being seen as a bad thing here, because it is causing all these problems. It's causing her to lose the will to live, when if she just kind of not accepted the situation she was in, she can maybe find a different way around it. This is the thing that destroys the well-governed cities and houses of men, words that are too skillfully spoken. I should have that highlighted as well. Oops. Change the colour because you can't actually see what I'm highlighting. While we just watch me try and highlight it in darker colour. There we go. So that's maybe a little bit of a dig about rhetoric. Possibly can talk about it through. This is going to be a long video, my apologies. So nurse, why this high and horsey tone? Noble sounding words are not what you need, but the man. You need the man. You need to accept that you're in love with Hippolytus and do something about it. Which is one way of getting basically out of her system, I think, is what the nurse is suggesting. Phaedra's like, oh my god, don't be ridiculous. It's actually vile. Why would I do with it? Why would I, try and seduce my stepson? That is revolting. Nurse is like, yeah, but it's better for you than like what you're planning to do. It would be better to, maybe it will get it out of your system, it will purge it, and then you would save your life and you don't have to kill yourself. Okay, fine. So then Phaedra's like, no, for goodness sake, don't go down this line. I do not want to do this. This again is her pride and her honour kicking in. Like, no, I am not going to seduce my stepson, because why would I do that? I think I'm with Phaedra on this one, to be honest. So the nurse is like, okay, if that's what you want to do, then perhaps we can try and create like this what she calls a love medicine, which will kind of basically purge it out of your system that way. So she needs a token from Hippolytus, like a hairpiece of clothing, whatever. So that's the situation that they might do. So she's a bit reluctant to make this potion, and the nurse is like, why are you worried? And Phaedra said, well, you might tell some of this to Theseus, so you might tell Hippolytus. And so the nurse, and it's going to be quite important here, hang on, promises that she won't. No, of course I won't. I won't tell Hippolytus. It's ridiculous. Don't worry. Okay. So she then goes into, you can kind of see what's going to happen next. The nurse goes into the palace. The chorus is just like, right, okay, maybe we're going to have like some kind of solving of the problem here. So Eros, god of love, distilling liquid desire from down upon the eyes, bringing sweet pleasure to the souls of those against whom you make war. Never to me may you show yourself to my hurt, nor ever come but in due measure and harmony. For the shafts neither of fire nor the stars exceed the shaft of Aphrodite, which Eros, Zeus' son, hurls down from his hand. 'Tis folly that the land of Greece makes the great slaughter of cattle by the banks of the Alpheus, and in the Pythian house of Apollo, if we pay no honour to Eros. So, love is important. We shouldn't ignore it just because it's mankind's despot, who holds the keys to the sweetest chambers of Aphrodite. He ruins mortals and sets upon them all manners of disaster when he visits them. There's a bit of a rant about the follies of love here, which is just quite nice. And it gives you a couple of examples. Then suddenly, as the chorus is sort of saying, love is a wonderful thing, but isn't it terrible? Noise is heard off stage. Some shouting. Sorry, I'm reading why there's an extra word Phaedra. It's a bit weird. So Phaedra kind of is like, oh God, I'm undone. The nurse has said something. So the chorus is like, whoa, calm down. It's just some shouting. Phaedra, be quiet, let me hear. Of course, she's like, yeah, I'll be here. I'll be quiet. And then she goes and listens at the palace door, so she's kind of eavesdropping. Chorus obviously can't hear what's being said. Is saying, what is the word? The message you cry out. What is going on? I'm destroyed. Stand by the door and listen to the kind of din that's being raised in the house. Chorus is like, well, you're by the door, so you tell me what's going on. It is Hippolytus who shouts dreadfully, upbraiding my servant. Chorus is like, I don't hear anything, but I can't really hear what they're saying. Are you absolutely certain? Phaedra, yeah, I'm sure. He calls her panda for the wicked. One has betrayed her master's marriage bed. The nurse has told Hippolytus. Despite the fact she promised not to, she has told Hippolytus. So then the chorus is like, oh my God, you are betrayed. So obviously this is a very bad betrayal, and this is absolutely awful. She has destroyed me by speaking my troubles, trying in kindness but dishonourably to heal this malady of mine. So basically the nurse has probably done it for the right reasons, as in she's thinking, well, if I tell Hippolytus, then this can be solved, it can be fine, and we'll be much happier, we'll be alright. Yeah, that hasn't really worked out, clearly. So Phaedra's like, right, I know one thing, what I need to do. I need to go and do the ultimate deed quickly, because this is going to solve my problem. So she leaves. And as she leaves, Hippolytus comes in with the nurse. So, hang on a second. Sorry, my cat has really helpfully decided to attack my arm while I'm sat at the computer. Right, sorry, I've just paused that while I disentangled my cat from my jumper. Right, anyway, so Phaedra's gone off to kill herself, that's what we were up to. So then Hippolytus comes in and is like, what unspeakable words I've heard. Oh my God, I can't believe what you told me. The nurse is like, keep it down, for goodness sake. Don't shout what I've just told you. I've told you, I've heard horrible things. I can't be silent. Nurse is like, please don't overreact. Please don't shout it. Hippolytus is upset. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. So Mercer's like, please don't destroy me. Why? Wasn't it awful? You told me, so why are you reacting? So the nurse basically makes Hippolytus agree that he will not tell anybody what she has told him. This is going to be important later. So he's sort of saying, yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought completely. It was my tongue sort of not my mind. So, yeah, okay, I won't tell anyone, but I'm not going to, like, forget what's been told to me. Nurse is like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to destroy Phaedra? No, of course I'm not going to. I'm not a criminal. So nurse is like, please forgive, because, everyone makes mistakes. It's the way it is. So then Hippolytus is going to go on a little bit of a sexist rant now, which is just charming. Because he doesn't like women. That's why he worships Artemis, because she is virginal. He has no interest in women whatsoever. So here he goes off in a bit of a rant. So why have you settled women in this light of sun, women this bane mankind she can find counterfeit? If you wish to propagate the human race, it was not from women that you should have given us this. Rather, men should have to put down in the temples either bronze or iron or a mass of gold and brought offspring. So you shouldn't have to have women at all. We could just do it on our own. We'll just ask for the gods to give us kids, and we'd have kids. For each man for a price corresponding to this means, and dwelt in houses free from the female sex. But as matters stand, when we're about to take into ourselves a large bane, we pay out the wealth of our homes. The clear proof is that women is a great bane as this. The father who begat her and raised her adds a dowry to her, and thus sends her off in order to be quit of her trouble. But her husband, who has taken this creature of ruin into his house, takes pleasure in adding finery to the statue, love refinery to a statue most worthless, and tricks her out with garments, wretch that he is, destroying by degrees the wealth of his house. There is a fatal necessity. Either a man makes a good connection by marriage, and his joy in his in-laws makes him preserve a marriage relation that gives him pain, or he gets a good wife and bad in-laws, which keeps in check his unhappiness with his blessing. But the man with a nullity for a wife, he has it easy. Although a woman who sits in the house and is a fool is a trouble, but a clever woman, that I loathe. Charming. May there never be in my house a woman with more intelligence than befits a woman. Again, charming. For Aphrodite engenders more mischief than in the clever. The woman without ability is kept from indiscretion by the slenderness of her wit. So basically, if he's going to have to get married, he wants someone stupid who just sit there and be quiet. It's just charming. One ought to let no slave pass in to see a woman. Rather, one should companion with them with wild and brute beasts, so that they would be unable to either speak to anyone or be spoken to in return. As things are, the wicked ones plot evil within doors, and the servants carry out their plans abroad. It is in this fashion, loathsome creature, that you have come to traffic with me in the sacred bed of my father. I shall pour running water into my ears to wash away your proposals. So basically, she's going to suggest to Hippolytus that she, have sex with his stepmother, and that will solve the problem, but obviously he's not going to. How could you make me such a traitor? Since the very sound of such things make me feel unclean. I tell you plainly, it is my piety that saves you, woman. For if I had not been off my guard and trapped by an oath in the name of the gods, I would not forbear to tell this whole story to my father. But as it is, while Theseus is out of the country, I shall leave the house and hold my tongue. But I shall return with my father, and then see how you look upon him, you and your mistress. I shall know your boldness, having had experience of it. A curse on you all. I shall never take my fill of hating women, not even if someone says that I am always talking of it, for they too are always in some way evil. Let a man accordingly either teach them to be chaste, or allow me to tread upon them forever. And then he leaves. Thank goodness, because that was a really unpleasant section. I thought I'd read the whole thing to you, because he's just horrible. He's a horrible guy, let's be honest. So the nurse is just like, oh God, basically, what have I done? What God, what mortal shall appear to help me, sit at my side, lend my hand to my unjust deeds? So she knows she's broken a promise, and now has to live the consequences of it. The chorus leader, is basically Phaedra then appears at this point. The chorus is like, oh God, you have no idea how bad things are to Phaedra. Phaedra's like, yeah, great, thank you very much. Has a bit of a rant against the nurse. Vile destroyer of your friends, see what you've done to me. So this is your fault, because you promised me you weren't going to, but you then told Hippolytus. Did I not warn you? Did I not guess your purpose? Say nothing of the matters that caused me disgrace. So I shall no longer die with an honourable name. I must plan anew. For he, with his mind whetted to a fine edge with anger, will utter against my name the wrongs you have committed. So this is now your fault. I told you not to tell him. You told him, and now he knows, and he's going to say, and it's just absolutely horrific. So the nurse is like, yeah, I know, I've done wrong, and I'm fine for the troubles I've brought you, so my behaviour's also caused lots of problems, but please, this is not what I wanted. I just wanted to basically cure you of this particular problem. What is this justice satisfaction for me to run through and then admit you were wrong? And have a bit of an argument about this. So she's saying, I did this so you can live. Please, forgive me, etc. No, Phaedra, no, look, shut up. Not interested. Last time you gave me advice, it was dishonourable. What you've attempted to do is criminal. Go out of the way. I'm not interested. I've got things to do. So then the nurse leaves. It's all very sad, isn't it? You can see where this is all kind of going. So she then turns to the chorus and is like, who are these women of Trojan? Please don't tell anybody what you've heard. The chorus is like, promised by the gods, I will never reveal what's happened. Phaedra's pleased about this. Yep, great, thank you very much. So that I may bequeath to my sons a good life of good repute and myself some benefit in the face of present events. So she knows what she's going to basically have to do in order to keep her honour. So she is really kind of, not obsessed is the wrong word, determined to keep her honour for her family. So of course she's like, what are you going to do? Phaedra, I'm going to die. But the way I'm going to do it's going to be my division. I will make the decision to this choice. Chorus is like, no, please don't. I'm not very good at acting, sorry. So, and you give me the advice, it's good. This day I shall delight Aphrodite who's bent on destroying me. So again, sort of the wrath of the gods, all the rest of it. And then essentially she then leaves. So the chorus is just like, oh, this is already awful, what we're going to do. Most of this is completely irrelevant. And therefore her mind is wrenched by a terrible malady of unhallowed passion sent from Aphrodite, choosing instead glory of a good name and putting from her heart her painful desire. So she's putting honour above everything else to keep her name, and that is what's going to save her. So then this is unfortunately when the suicide then occurs. So she hangs herself, which is obviously awful. And basically there's these discussions about, oh God, we found the body, and that's when her husband then turns up, of course. So he arrives, and everyone's like, what is going on with all this shouting? What has happened? And then the chorus is like, your wife is dead. Theseus, what do you mean my wife is dead? Like, what on earth has happened? And tells her that she has unfortunately taken her own life. Theseus is like, what the hell? What is going on? I don't understand what the problem is. There was nothing wrong, was there? They bring out the body, and the chorus is like, this is absolutely awful. You've endured, you've done things to destroy this house. It's all very awful. You died by violence and done and hallowed. This is just really sad. It's just really sad, this section, to be completely honest. So Theseus is obviously grief-stricken. I've suffered. I don't understand what's happened. What's the problem? I am reaping the stroke of the gods because the sin of someone before me, someone in time now gone. So the gods are punishing him, but he doesn't know why. And he's completely lost in grief. I'm undone. My house is bereft. My children are orphaned. It's obviously really sad. This is really, really sad. And that's when, here comes a plot twist, people, they discover a note. So Phaedra has written some sort of note. And he opens it and he reads it, but he doesn't say precisely what is on the note at this particular point. So the chorus is like, obviously reflecting the orders, everyone's really upset. Theseus then says, oh, whoa, what second pain on top of pain is this? Pain unendurable, unspeakable, what misery is mine? So something in the note is even worse than finding his wife dead. So the chorus is like, what is it? What's on the note? What happens? Theseus, it cries things grievous. Something absolutely horrific has happened. Chorus is like, okay, what is it? What has happened? So then this is when we find out what the note basically says. Now he doesn't say it word for word. It says, Hippolytus is dared to put his hand by force to my marriage beds. I think you'll figure out what that's saying. Dishonouring the holy eye of Zeus. So what Phaedra does is she writes a note to her husband where, without saying what has happened, why she's done it, she says it's to do with Hippolytus. So this is an opportunity of misunderstanding. She doesn't say that Hippolytus has sexually assaulted her. That's not what the note says. but the note is ambiguous enough with Hippolytus' name in it for the king to read the note, and that is his understanding of what has happened. Yeah, so a massive misunderstanding. It's one of the things in drama where people just spoke to each other, problems would be solved. So, understandably, he is very angry with his son. His wife is dead, and his son, he thinks, has been accused of sexually assaulting her. So, by Poseidon, with one of the 3 curses, you once promised me to kill my son, and may you not live out this day, if indeed you have granted me curses I may rely on. So he calls on the gods to punish Hippolytus. Chorus is like, oh God, please don't do it, because you've made a mistake. It's not what it seems. Theseus cannot be undone. I've asked for the gods now to help me. I shall banish him from this land, and one of 2 fates will strike him. Either Poseidon, honouring my curses, will send him dead to the house of Hades, or be banished from here. He will wander over foreign soil and drain to the dregs a life of misery. So one of the 2 things is going to happen. Either he's going to die, because Poseidon will kill him, or he's just gone, and that's fine. So then, of course, Hippolytus then appears at this particular point. Sorry, it's fiddling with my earphone. And of course he's like, please calm down, think about what's best for your family, for your house. It's not Hippolytus' fault. Hippolytus, I heard you crying, came really quickly, Dad. You know, what's going on? He then sees Phaedra dead. Obviously he knows why Phaedra is dead, but he can't say why Phaedra is dead. I see your wife, father dead. Gravest wonder. I literally just saw her. Yeah, okay, not helpful, because he doesn't know the note's been written, so now that's not a helpful sentence to say. Theseus is quiet, he's not saying anything, and he's like, please tell me what's wrong. It's not right to keep your troubles from your kin, and I'm your son, but, please tell me what's happened. And then his father sort of starts to attack him. A foolish mankind so often missing the mark. Why do you teach crass numberless, You contrive and invent all things, when there's one thing you should not understand and not hunted after, how to teach the senseless to sensible. A formidable expert this, he was able to force fools to show sense, but since these 5 disputations of yours, father, are unseasonable, I fear your misfortunes have caused your tongue to run amok. So basically here, he's kind of going, you've gone after something you shouldn't have done, i.e. my wife, and he's like, whoa, wait a minute. Your grief is overriding you, and you're saying things you can't take back. So be careful where you're going. And basically, he accuses him again of what has happened. But has one of my kin been slandering me in your ear? Someone told you I've done something wrong. I don't understand. Your words, cast adrift from all sense, astonish me. What you're telling me is beyond understanding. I don't get it. I've not done anything. So the father's like, how far to go? What limit can be set to hardiness and brazenness? If it shows great to the course of man's life, blah, 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 blah. So, look at this man who's born from my loins, and yet he disgraced my bed and is clearly convicted of utter baseness from the dead woman here. So Hippolytus turns away at this point, because he's just like, oh my God, what am I being accused of? Come show your father to your face to your father, eye to eye. Since in any case I've already involved myself in pollution. Are you then the companion of the gods, as a man beyond the common? Are you the chaste one, untouched by evil? I will never be persuaded of your vauntings, never be so unintelligent as to impute folly to the gods. Continue then with your confident boasting, take up a diet of greens, and play the showman with your food. Make Orpheus your lord, and engage in mystic rites. Hold in the vapourings of many books in honour, for you have been found out. So basically what he's saying is that he's accusing Hippolytus of acting all chaste and all the rest of it just as an act, because he now knows the truth about his son. His son has done this, and you've been acting this way to hide yourself, and it's not worked. I have found the truth. She is dead. What do you think this will save you? The fact that she is now dead, do you think that no one can accuse you of what's happened? So now why do I wage this contest against the speech when this corpse, witness most reliable, lies near, go forth from this land of all speed as an exile? So he kicks out his son. So his son then has to respond to what has happened. Father, the anger and vehemence of your heart is dreadful. Yet though the case you argue provides such fine words, it is not in fact one if one should examine it closely. I am not skilful to make speech to a crowd, but have more ability to address my age mates and the few. This too is right and proper, for those who are of no account among the wise are often more inspired speakers for the multitude. Yet, since disaster has come upon me, I must loosen my tongue. I shall begin to speak from the point from which you first attacked me, expecting you would destroy me, not word in reply. You see the light of the sun, you see the earth. Upon this sunlit earth there is no man, though you do not more chaste than I. I know how to reverence the gods. So, I worship Artemis. I've not done anything that you think I've done. How to make friends who do not try to commit wrong, friends who scruple to give evil orders, and to render base services to those about them. I am no mocker of my companion's father, but the same man to friends both absent and present. One thing has not touched me, that wherein you think you have convicted me. To this very moment my body is pure of the bed of love. So I've never slept with anyone, let alone sexually assaulted your wife. I do not know this act save by report or seeing it in painting. I am not eager to look at it either, since I have a virgin soul. But suppose that my chastity does not persuade you of my innocence, I waive the point. You ought to show how I was corrupted. So, evidence. Did her body surpass all of women's in beauty? So was I overcome by beauty? Or did I hope that by taking an heiress to bed I should succeed to your house? I was foolish then, laid completely out of my mind. But will you say that to be king is a tempting pleasure even to the virtuous? Not so at all, since kingly power has corrupted the minds of those who love it. So in other words, it's not because I want to be king, because I don't particularly want to be king. I, for my part, would wish to be the first at the Greek games, but in the city to be second, and enjoying continuous good fortune, with my noble friends. For not only is there scope for action, but also the absence of danger yields a greater pleasure than being king. I have said all else, one more point remains. If I had a witness to what manner of man I am, if I was pleading my case while she was still alive, your careful investigation would have discovered in very truth who the guilty party is. So if she was alive and you question her, you'd find out an element of the truth. As things stand, I swear by Zeus, God of oaths, and by the earth beneath me, I have never put my hand to your wife. Never wished to, never had a thought. May I perish with no name or reputation, cityless, homeless, wandering the earth in exile, and may neither sea nor earth receive my body when I am dead if I am guilty. What the fear has made her take her life I do not know, for I am not at liberty to speak further. So he's not going to break his oath. He's doing the right thing. So despite that he could save himself, he's not going to tell the truth, because he's made this oath to the gods and to the nurse. So he's rebuted saying, is the charges, like I'm a virgin, I have no interest in sex, let alone she wasn't particularly pretty, that wouldn't have overcome me, I don't want to usurp you and your power, so that's not caused me to do anything. So if she was alive, you could question her and find out I haven't done anything, but you found me guilty, so I will leave, because I have no choice. Theseus, however, is not convinced. Is this man not a chanter of spells and a charlatan? Blah. So there's always a very angry exchange. Son, I feel so great wonder at you, for if you were my son and I your father, I would not have banished but killed you if you dared to put your hand to my wife. As he said, you're not even reacting the way I would if this was the case. So this is all just, you're like a bit of a hypocrite. So they have some very angry exchanges here. And then Hippolytus also says, will you not examine my oath and sworn testimony of those seers? Will you banish me without a trial? At least put me on trial. Theseus, there is no divinity chanciness about this tablet. There's a letter, and its accusation against you deserves my trust. So I have enough evidence in front of me because there's a letter. And then Hippolytus is like, right, why can't I just say what's happened? But I can't because I've sworn an oath. Theseus is like, just leave. Just leave. Hippolytus, where am I going to go? I'm going to be exiled. I don't know where to go. Theseus, someone doubtless that makes tasting guests who defile their wives, and men who keep home at plotting evil. Ouch. That stroke cut me to the heart. It would do. It's nearly enough to make me weep, and I am regarded as base and seem to you. So he's like, I can't believe you think this of your son, basically. I would never do this to my father. This is absolutely disgusting. And basically this argument continues of like, oh, I'm being targeted really badly. Theseus, you're just being really horrible. Leave. Why won't you leave? Etc, etc, etc. So eventually Hippolytus accepts what's happened. Right, fine. Seeing that I know the truth but may not tell it, I will leave. So then he leaves. At long last, he leaves. I promise we're nearly at the end of the play. Appreciate this has been going on for like nearly an hour. We are nearly there. So the chorus is like, oh, this is awful. What hope is there left to see the hidden workings of the fortunes and proceeding of mortals? So we don't really understand the gods. How can we even understand the gods? I'm angry with the gods. Ye graces that dance your round. Why do you not accompany this man from his house? He's been ruined with his father's wrath, but is guiltless of no mad deed. So essentially, we've got this idea that Theseus has been far too angry too quickly and hasn't really thought it through, and that's why Hippolytus is being punished, and it's obviously is really unfair. That's the gist of that. Then a messenger appears, and he's rushing to the house, and the messenger's like, must find Theseus. Where's Theseus? Theseus comes out. I've got really bad news. Messenger's like, Hippolytus is dead. His nearly is dead. And Theseus is like, okay, who killed him? Was it like another king whose wife he raped? Bit harsh. Messenger's like, no, his chariot destroyed him. And the curses which you uttered against your son to your father, Poseidon, have caused it. So he's praised the gods, and the gods have come in and helped him. And Theseus is very happy with this, merciful gods. So you were truly, after all, truly my father Poseidon, since you've heard my prayer. So the idea that the gods are important because they can interact in people's lives. And then he basically gives a bit of a story about what happened on the day. It's a bit long-winded, but essentially, Hippolytus says, yeah, I've got to go. And he said, I have to go away from my father as far as I can because he dishonours me. There's a lot about honour, as you probably pick up in this play. And then there's a great noise, like some thunder, and it's really scary. And then they turn to the sea, because they're riding this chariot into the sea, and they see this massive, really crazy sized wave. And at the swell, there's there's a bull. So that's like literally there's these bulls being sent in the waves. And basically the horses freak out here. And he nearly gets control of the chariot, but he loses the chariot. And then he's dragged along, smashing his head against the rocks. Nice detail. Rendering his flesh charming and uttering dreadful things to hear. So he's basically dragged behind his chariot because the horses are freaked out when he falls out of the chariot. And he's basically kind of pulled along the floor and is killed. But he's not killed, he's dying as a result of it. And Chorus is like, yep, there's no escape from fate and destiny. This was destined by the gods. The gods have laid this out. Because remember at the beginning of the play, Aphrodite said he was going to die. And he has now basically died. And Theseus is like, in respect for the gods and stuff, he is my son, but I don't take any pleasure or any pain from this. He's quite indifferent at this particular situation. So Messenger's like, oh, what should I do? What should I do with the body then? Shall I leave him there or bring him here? The Theseus is like, yeah, bring him here so I can look at him. And so I can sort of watch him die, which is just a cheerful thought. So the messenger then leaves, and this is just really depressing play. Then Artemis finally appears. She just stepped forth earlier. This could have all been avoided. So Artemis appears to Theseus and is like, you have godlessly killed your son, persuaded by things unseen by false words of your wife. Remember, the wife didn't accuse him of anything specific, she just mentioned Hippolytus. And he's now dead because of you. It is all for this purpose I came, to make plain your heart's song is guilt. Your son's heart, is guiltless. He may die with a good name, about being honour again. It's because your wife had basically gone mad, for she was stung by the goad of that goddess who most hated by us, who take pleasure in virginity, and fell in love with your son. She attempted to conquer Aphrodite by resolve. She was destroyed by unwitting of the contrivances of a nurse who told your son under oath of her malady. So he was in fact right, did not fall with her words, yet again he did break the firmness of his oath, being pious. So he kept his word because the nurse didn't, and that is the reason what's happened. So there, Theseus is like, oh no, what have I done? Yeah, what have you done? Artemis carries on kind of laying into him. Do you know that possessed 3 reliable curses from your father? Your father, the Sea Lord, kindly disposed as he was granted towards you, granted what he had to grant, seeing that he made this promise. You did not put the charges to proof, nor grant time the rights to investigate it. So this is your fault. You acted too quickly. So this is an important lesson here. If you act out in anger, you make stupid mistakes. I think we could all agree with that in general life anyway. So this is kind of the point of the play. People are acting out in anger, and that's caused these problems. Theseus, oh, may I die, the rest of it. You have done dreadful deeds, but for now it is possible for you to win pardon for these things. Aphrodite willed these things should happen, thus sating her anger. So gods are punishing people. Ignorance acquits of your misdoings of baseness. So you weren't doing it because you were doing it on purpose. You didn't know all the facts, so it's not entirely your fault. And obviously because your wife had died, you couldn't like test the words in her letters, and that's why you were ignorant. It's not entirely your fault, so you can ask for forgiveness. So Hippolytus is brought forward and he's dying. Oh pain, wretched man that I am. Now mutilated I am by unjust words of an unjust father. Yeah, understandable, he's allowed to be angry. And he's basically just dying really painfully and very, very slowly. The pain that comes over me, so he's just wallowing in self-despair. But to be fair, he's about to die, so I'm not surprised. Artemis is still there. It's an ability of your mind that has destroyed you. So because you just wouldn't tell the absolute truth, I know you probed an oath, but if you had just said what was going on, then, you know, your pride has led to your downfall, Hippolytus. You should have just said what has happened. So Hippolytus is quite happy because Artemis is there, so that's nice. He's like, oh, that's lovely. Artemis says, yeah, your father was deceived because the gods contrived it to be so. So Hippolytus then begins to forgive his father, realising his father didn't know the truth either. How great, unhappy father, your misfortune. Father's like, yeah, absolutely, because I've lost my son, I've lost my wife, I've lost everybody, it's all very sad. And Hippolytus is like, you would have killed me still, such was your anger. So again, this anger has led to Theseus acting, what's one? I can't remember the right word. Has led to him acting too quickly in anger. That will do. And Artemis is basically teaches him a lesson about this. So you have to sort of, you should don't act in anger. Basically, here's the point I think that's being made here. And you know your death will be honoured, so you know you'll be fine. For you are not responsible for killing him, and when the gods so send, it is understandable that men make fatal errors. So when the gods get involved, there's very little that women can do. So don't, punish yourself too harshly. There was very little that you could actually do for yourself. So it's not your fault. Okay. Still at your bedding I am. I quarrel with my father, for in my times I've made a word. So basically the son says, yeah, I'll forgive you because you as a goddess are telling him to forgive him because it's not his fault. Hippolytus is like, no, I acquit you for this murder. Essentially, it is not your fault. You didn't know, which is what this whole end section is about. Not your fault. It was my fault. Not your fault. Wasn't your fault. Fine. And then this last kind of bit, how well I shall remember Aphrodite, the woes you have brought to pass. So don't anger the gods, people, because if you anger the gods, then all sorts of problems are going to occur, which is the other point of this particular play. And then essentially, everybody's in grief, and it's really sad, and everybody's died. So what are the key lessons learned here? Don't act in anger. Pride comes before a fall. Don't annoy the gods. 3 key things to make sure you live your lives by. And there are other kind of key things we'll have a look at when we look at this play in lesson